Well, it's 8 o'clock, and Commissioner Grant and I are here. So should we get started? Okay, so I'd like to call the November 9th Whatcom PUD regular meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any changes or corrections to the agenda?
Commissioner, do you want to do the pledge?
Did we forget the pledge? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I forgot the pledge. Christine, would you like to do it or should I?
I can do it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now let's move on to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? And I believe there's a minor change from what we received in the packet.
We moved the general manager appointment process down after the executive session.
Right.
I don't have any changes.
So just for the public's benefit, there's a change in the agenda that happened since the packet was issued to move the general manager process update to after executive session. Is because we have good news. We just need to confirm it in executive session. So stay tuned with us. It won't be a long meeting for those who are attending from the public. Or at least I don't think it'll be a long meeting for those of us that are attending from the public. And so we have good news for you all. So with that, let's go ahead and approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. And I guess it's a formality to vote since the motion and the second are the only people that can vote. But all those in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now let's move on to the consent agenda.
Commissioner Desmani, you were going to mention Mike's absence.
Right, thank you, John. We have three commissioners. Commissioner Mike Murphy is not able to attend. He's excused. He's notified us of a personal emergency that he's addressing. We wish Mike from the whole team, and I'm sure from the whole public, how much we appreciate him and support him, and look forward to seeing him again at our next regular meeting. So let's move on to the consent agenda. So we have multiple minutes that we're approving here. Only one of them is a regular meeting. The other minutes are from special meetings that we had primarily for the purpose of confidential discussions regarding the backgrounds of various candidates we were evaluating for general manager. So there was no actions out of those. Those minutes are very short. The minutes from the regular meeting of October 26th was distributed in the packet. If we feel comfortable with approving those now without the presence of Commissioner Murphy, I think we should go ahead. Commissioner Murphy is in presence. I want to ask Commissioner Grant, are you okay with that?
Approving the meeting minutes?
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I am as well.
Well, I did just have one question. The open house of October 28th, obviously the meeting minutes are just that we opened it and then we closed it. We're not posting any of that online, are we?
Pam, can you address- yeah.
We're posting the meeting minutes. We're not posting the Zoom recording, right?
That's up to you, commissioners. It is a record. It is a public record. It's been your practice to post them. It's not required. I'm certain it's probably a rather inartful Zoom link, given it was a recording from a laptop as if someone was standing in that reception. So
yeah, I just think that if someone, I think it would be somewhat confusing to someone if they went to that link and were watching it. So, I mean, I normally love that we have all of our meetings posted on YouTube, and thank you, Anne, for how you do that. that is one that I don't think the general public will get a whole lot out of by posting it online.
So
So
is there a way to, so to address, that's a good point. To address Commissioner Grant's point, can we not provide the video and then put in the minutes that recording available upon request or something like that?
They are to be open for public inspection. They are to be, the minutes are promptly recorded and all such records shall be open to public inspection. So
Okay,
if you didn't want to post it on your website, it still has to be retained as a record so someone can see it if they ask for it.
well, let's just do that then. It just seemed a little bit like a funny Zoom recording, but otherwise I'm ready to approve the consent agenda.
I'd also like to ask Ann, is there, if Commissioner Murphy does have any concerns, I don't know if he's expressed any with the minutes up to this point, but if he does, is there any problem in revisiting that?
What, I would suggest that once they're approved, so, and
Yeah.
I doubt very, very much that Mr. Murphy will have any problems. He would have, I think he would have advised Ann or myself of that before the meeting.
Right, okay, and I'm just checking about that. There's nothing,
They are deemed approved. Steve's absolutely correct. Technically, at the next subsequent meeting, one of the parties moving in favor of the approval could move for reconsideration of the prior motion. It would have to be at the next meeting, and Mike would have to ask one of you to make the motion since he wasn't a majority moving party.
okay, yeah, so with that, just as an understanding, you haven't heard anything to date, so I think we're fine going in and approving those. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the regular meeting of October 26th, as well as the special meetings on October 28th. The three special meetings on October 28th.
And
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Great. And of course, the claims bill. Thank you. I'll second that. And all those in favor of the approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Ann, could you help with that?
No hands raised at this time.
Okay, great. We'll close the public comment period and move on to old business. And what we have under here is a broadband program update.
Christine, do you have any comments?
I have had 2 meetings since our last commission meeting with members of the broadband steering committee to talk about staffing in relation to many of the opportunities that we're facing with grants. We'll have, and Steve and I chatted about that yesterday. I think we'll have more updates very soon about that, and I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be discussing a lot more about that in the near future. So thank you, Commissioner Grant. Let's move on to new business. So the first item is to approve a professional services agreement with Dave Olson, Cornerstone Management.
Commissioner Rebecca has agreed to take this. Rebecca, your mic is muted.
There we go. Sorry, thought I had it done.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, commissioners. I just
Good morning.
wanted to bring this before the commission. Dave Olson has been contracted with us since 2009 to do various work with the PUD, primarily on grants that we received from the Department of Health early on. But we've also had him beginning in 2019 work with us on our water supply plan and other on-call services. His professional service agreement is, the term is coming up at the end of this year, 2021. So we would like the commission to approve his professional services to be extended to 2024. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, but I think you've seen many of the abilities of Dave to support small water associations and also to assist the PUD in work that we need for our own potable water system. And who knows what's going to happen in the future with adjudication. I'd ask the commission to approve that.
Great. Well, I would be delighted to make a motion to approve the professional services agreement with Dave Olson, Cornerstone Management. Oh. You're muted, Atul.
I will second that. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
And the next item is the approval of resolution number 803, the cancellation of a warrant more than a year old. And who's handling that? Tracy?
Uh,
Or is someone else want to handle
I guess I'll take this unless. I guess I'll take this. I think Tracy was going to handle it, but I think she's on a call. I can hear her outside the office here. This is asking you to cancel warrant number 1097129 to PP and excavators, P&P excavators, which is issued on 2019. So 2 years ago, and was not presented by the vendor and is more than a year old, so pretty straightforward.
Is there any discussion on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to cancel warrant. I forgot the number, but the resolution 803, which identifies the number of the warrant.
Yes.
So Steve, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So who didn't, P&P Excavating was owed $1,573. Can you, sorry, I actually don't track exactly what's going on.
I believe I don't have the warrant in front of me, but I believe P&P excavators were issued a number of payments for work at our wastewater or our water treatment plants for removing material out of the subbasins.
Okay.
And so apparently this was the final check and they did not take it.
Okay.
I mean, they did not cash it.
And
We have no idea why.
okay.
So, but it's after a year, we typically work with the vendor. And if the vendor does not respond or simply responds and says, we don't know, then we clear it out. So.
Okay. All right.
And the 2-year time period is sufficient for any kind of claim on it. And we have used P&P since then and have made payments for other work. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 803.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item on our agenda is some changes to our meeting schedule for December. Steve, would you like to handle that?
Yes, commissioners, this is not unusual. We set our schedule at the beginning of the year for our commission meeting, just running every second and fourth Tuesday. And this year, the second Tuesday is the 28th of December. And so we're recommending that because of the timing related to the holidays, we're recommending that we move that to December 21st. That's all. So we're gonna, if you approve this, this just means we have 2 meetings 1 week apart. But typically, that second meeting is left open to conduct some regular business such as because we're not having any new commissioners elected this year, you can take action on setting delegation to different committees and so forth. And you could even have your election of officers at that meeting. So just a few small business items is what we'll have to clean up.
I'll make a motion to call for a special meeting on December 21st, 2021, and cancel the regularly scheduled commission meeting of December 28th, 2021.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
So at the beginning of this meeting, we identified that there was changes to the agenda from the packet. There was one other change, I apologize. That is item 6D, which has to do with redistricting and potentially exploring 5 commissioners for the PUD. So that was also an item that was added, and we will move to that now. I assume, Peter, you're going to handle that for us?
I'm going to tee it off, Commissioner, and then
Okay.
hand it over to Peter. I was going to address for you the 5-member district commission inquiry, and Peter's going to handle the redistricting question. I was asked to look at the potential for the commission becoming a 5-district commission, as some PUDs in the state are a 5-commissioner district, and see what that process would be. Uniquely for PUDs, unlike other special purpose districts, it's a very limited circumstance where a PUD could be a 5-commissioner district. And frankly, there's only a couple in the state that could do that. The requirements are that, one, you have or have had a federal power commission license for a hydroelectric project of more than $250 million. Or you have a population of more than 500,000. So this district doesn't fit those requirements. And quite frankly, there's probably only 2 or maybe 3 in the state that could fit that. I think it'd probably be Grant and Chelan with the federal license, and then Snohomish, possibly based on the population. So I appreciate the effort and the reasons looking at this, but it's under the statute, it's not applicable. I suspect the statute was changed so narrowly by an effort from probably Grant or Chelan years ago as a narrow surgical legislative change. If the commission wanted to expand RCW 5440-010, we'd have to go with a legislative strategy to empower this district to become a 5-commission district.
Thank you, John. Is there any discussion on this?
Then I turn it over to Peter to talk about redistricting, which kind of came up uniquely given the timing of elections for the PUD. Peter, it's all you.
Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity. So I'm just going to go over some highlights from the memo that I sent out on Friday. Hopefully you received that. With the completion of the 2020 census and that data then being provided to local government, state law requires the district to complete a redistricting process prior to December 31st, 2021. So a little bit of background, this process, the district completed this process back in 2017. And at that time, my understanding that was because the county had done its own change in boundaries, and there had to be some sort of confirmation of what the boundaries were. And at that point, in looking at the boundaries, the variation in population was sufficiently minimal that the district was able to make some findings that it was consistent with the law to confirm the existing boundaries. And in addition to that, I think historically the district has followed the same as the Port district boundaries. So that is also a consideration as the district looks at this. So again, in terms of process, the deadline is December 31st of this year. There's some background. The Port has been providing information to, I know Anne And they are providing that data along with some mapping, and that is based on that 2020 census data. In terms of substantive requirements, you haven't laid out in the memo there, but it's the districts have to be nearly equal in population as possible, compact as possible, and there can't be a favoring of any racial group or political party. So that brings us to sort of the process. And the way I've formulated it, you're dealing with two different statutes and trying to satisfy both of them. The first step would be pulling together that data and coming up with a redistricting plan, which is essentially a map and an outline of how those populations go with that map. That has to be identified and a draft plan has to be published. And I would anticipate that at the November 23rd meeting that the commission, this is all anticipated, expected, that would occur at the November 23rd meeting. And at that point, it can be published. And then that's followed by a public hearing. And I would anticipate that public hearing likely being on December 14th. At that point, they would be taking public testimony and any written comment. And then if all goes well, you would be set up then to adopt the redistricting plan on December 21st. And that would have to be done by resolution with findings from the commission that these substantive requirements have been met and an acknowledgement that the public process has been followed. If necessary, the statute does provide, if you, in the process of receiving public comment, you have to change the draft plan, there is a provision for taking additional written comment at least 1 week before adoption. So I don't think we're going to get there, but I wanted to note that as part of the statute. One note on this is all commissioners have to be present for the adoption of any change to the boundaries. So that can't be done with just two of the three commissioners. So those are the highlights. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have those.
Questions for Peter? Peter, is there any, I have a question, and I think Steve, you have a question too. Steve, why did you go first?
I was just going to make a comment. We've gotten behind on this. When we looked at the requirements coming out of the legislature, we read those requirements to be the same in terms of timing as other special purpose districts like the Port. But because we have an election in 2022 coming up, we have to do it by the end of this year. And so that's why we're not, I wouldn't use the term scrambling, but the process has been shortened up tremendously. So we appreciate the willingness of the Port of Bellingham staff and offered by Rob Fix to help us on this. So.
My question is there any case in the recent history where the PUD has proposed its own districts or modification of districts, or have we typically just gone with what was the districting plan presented?
I wouldn't know the history on that. I mean, it is an independent decision, however, by the.
Yeah, I mean, we're responsible for our own districting. Yes, I understand that. But has there been a situation where public comment and or commissioners have swayed or diverged from the plan that was presented?
Commissioners, I'm not aware of it. I've gone through two of these at the district since I've been here, and I'm not aware that there's been any challenge or any comments or any suggestions that we do anything different than what we're doing.
So the next question is, when PUDs or reports have diverged from the presented plan by the commission, by the redistricting commission, what has been the reason for that? And don't say politics. I would like to have a little bit more.
Well, there isn't really a redistricting commission per se, as there may be for state offices. This is a process whereby you develop your own redistricting plan. And historically, as I agree with Steve, what's happened is the port having a planning staff, this PUD staff have worked with the port to develop a consistent district plan with the goal, with the purpose that the two entities share the same district boundaries, so the public doesn't get confused as to why there are differences. And I've also tried to align that the best they can with the county districts. And so there's some consistency for the public. And I agree with Steve. I don't recall anyone ever objecting to that. So
there's a joint effort that we rely on the port on, and then the county has its own effort because their districts are different as well. So, and there's no collaboration between the county staff effort and the city staff efforts, for example, or the only collaboration that occurs is between the port and PUD on this in this community.
In this community, I think that's correct, Commissioner.
Okay.
And the reason is because the port has three separate, has their own three districts. And so typically we work with them and align ourselves with them, because you should end up, if you're going to have three countywide districts, those three countywide districts should look the same.
So let me just put the question this way. There's many things that we do in local government where commissioners or planning commissioners or so on and so forth see something presented on the agenda that's a routine course of business. And I often, in different capacities that I've been, I said, oh, that makes sense to me. But the question is, I want to understand when it wouldn't make sense to me. That's what my line of questioning is now. Meaning, going forward, obviously, for this particular situation, the timing is short. I have no desire or intention to throw a wrench in the works. But I want to understand in the future, what kind of considerations should we be having about the boundaries of the districts? And so really, I'm asking folks who know more about this than me to help me understand why there could be energy infused into the subject of how district boundaries work.
I think it really,
And I'm going to do my own homework after this. And I apologize. Yeah, but sorry.
No,
Go ahead, Steve.
I think John and Peter can correct me, but I think it really comes down to trying to figure out as close as you can get to similar numbers in terms of population based upon every precinct in the county. And in this case, by the 10-year census, and try to align that. I mean, at the end of this day, even though the port will not be required to do this until next year, I would certainly understand that when we complete this for the PUD in a month here, that the port will choose to those same boundaries. So I don't see, I mean, in terms, the only difference could possibly be is if the port decided to move, across this street and 2 blocks west, if you would, and move the other district 2 blocks east. I mean, that's the kind of changes that we're looking at here, trying to figure out exactly using road boundaries, using creeks, or something that makes sense, and then try to get those numbers the same.
Yeah, if I may, just to follow up on what Steve just said, I think that's right. I think the energy around this typically is really getting the population right, because the other factors, compactness, communities of interest, in 2017, the district went through this and kind of came up with those districts. So now the one thing that's changed is the census data. So now the energy is around trying to make sure that population is lining up nearly as possible equally among the different internal districts. And I would just add, Commissioner Deshmani, that I did find out that the county's process is, I know they are going through their own redistricting process. In talking to Diana Bradrick, that they are looking forward to this information because they take the districts and then they have to go through a re-precincting process. And I can't remember the exact timeline, but I think that occurs at the county level. in something like May, and then they needed a month ahead of time for the county council agenda. So there is sort of there is a coordination, but it's each jurisdiction doing, taking care of its statutory duty, and then sort of the dominoes fall as those districts provide that information. Yes, the public utility districts are on a completely different timeline than other special purpose districts for the reasons mentioned already.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's sufficient discussion to satisfy my needs. Is there any further
I
questions?
was just
or-
going to add that, and maybe it's redundant, but historically, the PUD and the port's timing for taking action has been aligned. And so the port staff and PUD staff collaborated on how those minor tweaks, as Steve was saying, could be adjusted to meet the population distribution, and then presented proposals at roughly the same time to the two commissions. This anomaly is that because you have an election next year, what the state statute required, you've been pushed ahead of the port by a year or so.
Thank you.
So when will we see the preliminary redistricting maps and numbers?
Hopefully in 2 weeks.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, and then our hearing on it will be
December 14th.
December 14th. Okay. And then assuming all goes well, we would finish the process then. If we got a lot of public comment and we needed to further revise it, we have a little bit of wiggle room. Is that what you were explaining, Peter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thanks to everybody that's helping with the process, and to the port for lending us their planning resources.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
So there's no action on this item, correct?
That's correct. Not today.
So that completes new business, I believe. So let's move on to the general manager's report.
Commissioners, I don't have anything today, and I know you're wanting to get into that executive session, so.
There is one item, Steve. I don't know if we should discuss it now or under commissioner reports, but it's an item that Brian raised in the email regarding BPA. And I'd like to have it discussed somewhere on the agenda. I can bring it up in my commissioner reports if that's the better place to do it.
I think that'd be appropriate. Yeah. You
Okay,
can do
great.
it under your commissioner's report.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I don't have to ask you about the river levels, I suppose. We're not worried about that right now.
We're not worried about low river levels right now. No.
That's right. Let us know where you should be worried about high river levels.
Yeah. Actually, last week, during the middle of the week when we were having all our rain last week, about a third of our property out here out by Plant 2 was underwater. So.
Yeah, and I've got a very high-tech sensor in my basement for the water table. So I can tell that there's lots of water, lots of groundwater. So it's peeking its head into my basement. So all right, let's move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Grant.
Well, I already mentioned the steering committee meetings that I've been having related to broadband. Also heard from a new community member out in the South Fork that is wanting to learn more about broadband and what we're doing. And it sounds like Gina will be connecting with that group, but certainly just still a lot of need with broadband out there. And I think you probably hear it too, Atul, but just regularly hearing from folks about their broadband needs, particularly in rural parts of the county. And I think just underscoring how much communication that takes with people to, because there's, especially with the infrastructure bill that was passed just a lot of questions about how that money might be filtering to our communities. So, so looking forward to continued discussions about our work on broadband and presentation from Chris Walker. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add. I'm hoping to attend the WAPUDA meetings next week on the 17th, the telecommunications and the energy one for sure. Maybe I'll catch a few of the other ones. That's all I have for now, though.
I have 4 items. So the first item is regarding water and the water committee. The chair of the water committee, Chris Stearns, has asked me to speak briefly about where we are in Whatcom County regarding adjudication, and it relates particularly to where we are with communication with tribes. And I'll do my best. I'm going to be talking to Steve and Rebecca at the end of this week, and I'll prepare some thoughts for a 5-minute commentary on that subject. Other PUDs are curious about that. In the past couple of weeks, I've had multiple conversations with commissioners. This is the second item now. I finished talking about water. I've had multiple conversations with commissioners who are very curious about the Whatcom PUD's general manager process. And I'm glad to report we have a pretty good story, about the process we went through, and other PUDs and commissioners are taking note of that. And of course, every PUD is unique and different. And so we're just one dot point in the analysis of other commissioners and figuring out how they deal with evolution and change of leadership, because there's a lot of PUDs in Washington State that have general managers that are near retirement. The next item is I attended the city's broadband advisory group. The group now has finally selected a consultant. The consultant's first step is to conduct a survey in the city level. And the members of the broadband advisory group are providing feedback as we speak over the next few weeks to the contents and the distribution of the survey. Obviously, it's not just important that good questions are asked in the survey, but it's also really important that the right people answer, or a good swath of sectors within the community have the opportunity to respond to the survey, and that there will be good work for the members of the committee to make sure the survey gets widely distributed and responded to. But it should be a really valuable source of information. Because the study effort has just begun, the results of the consultant that the committee has hired, or that the city has hired, won't be really coming out until early next year. So that means it's probably more like the middle of next year when the broadband advisory group will actually have its work product. A central piece of the thinking, at least is what for me, is regarding how that input that's provided is ends up being beneficial to the city first and foremost, and then to the community as a whole. And what I mean by that is that we have examples where advisory groups have prepared reports that are a little bit disconnected from what is doable. They can be a very hopeful wish list. And perhaps I'm not saying that that's a mistake, that the advisory groups produce a extensive wish list, but there also needs to be an eye on what is implementable by the physics, let's put it, I'm using the term physics here to mean the physical restraints or the capability or the resources of staff. So that's something that I'm going to be thinking about and talking to other people who represent the various staffs in local government. So that's my summary. It's very much about the process rather than the product. Last time I talked about this, I talked a lot about the definitions, which are beneficial, but it's still a little bit of ways out in terms of the actual product of the group. But I see the right things happening for this group to produce useful work product. And I think the focus on a survey is very important. Too many times we try to plan solutions without knowing what the problem is. And I'm really happy for that kind of effort happening, driven by the city's effort. And although the city's data will be different than what we would discover in a countywide survey, for sure, it will be very informative to us. And I look forward to perhaps having presentations to us from the work product that comes out of the cities group. Another series of meetings that I attended was related to our public utility risk management pool, PERMS. And I attended both the meeting that was the previous day for the executive board and then as well as the board of directors. And the meetings, the main thing I want to share with the commission regarding those items is that there is a huge impact that is, I would say, percolating through the risk management community as it relates to the fires and climate related issues, first showing up as fires from the state of California. And it's going to continue to percolate. It takes time for the insurance industry to figure out what to do with the increased risk and exposures. But the impact is substantial. And I think that as things evolve, it'll ask the Whatcom PUD to potentially reevaluate our relationship with PERMS. Why? Because our risk profile is very different. And so there is a method by which allocations happen. That was my dog. Apologize for that, that happens again. Risk allocations happen to different PUDs in the state. And obviously, one of the things we need to be vigilant on is how we get allocated risk based on the risk that we introduce to the pool. So the subject is a hot subject, and many PUDs are very curious about the allocation. The second issue that came up at PERMS was the issue of cybersecurity, and that's impact on insurance costs and premiums as well. And I would say that these are the two big issues over the next few years that are going to have an impact and kind of require our diligence in terms of seeing how we fit into the pool. And it's a good group. They're doing valuable work, and they're doing their best to advocate on behalf of the PUDs for managing risk, of course, to the PUDs, but also managing costs in their communication with the insurers that they're working with. So that's and the last time I want to bring up is actually not mine. It one that I identified, but one that Brian identified. And Brian, I'd like you to just correct me if I'm off the mark, but basically Bonneville Power is asking us to, of course, now enter into new agreements of I think one of the things that that process stimulated for us to look at the potential of our own procurement of renewables that was distributed over the last few months. We have we've undertaken some studies, and we've also been increasing our understanding of what it takes to buy renewable energy from other suppliers. And you have also recently identified that it may become prohibitive to buy and distribute renewable energy from Eastern Washington, for example, or Idaho or Montana or whatever, and bring it here because of the distribution complexity and costs. And that we should perhaps undertake a focus concern with concern for that, to look at options for producing renewable energy locally. So Brian, would you like to add any more to that subject?
Commissioners, I had passed that article that was in the most recent issue of Clearing Up to you, just, you know, for information purposes and to highlight the issue of transmission capacity, because it's long been known in the industry that that is a problem. And for us, it's kind of it's a twofold thing for small load growth on our system. It makes more sense to look locally to meet that need currently, rather than to go out and try to procure a resource at some distance from us, Eastern Washington, Montana, wherever it is, and then bring that resource in over the bulk transmission system, bulk electric transmission system. But if we get a large load request to connect to our system, there isn't a lot of opportunity in county to secure a generating resource of the size needed to meet that load. So we're forced out onto the network and looking at distant resources to meet that need. So we got a sort of a twofold problem. I think small load growth we can handle. It's the large load growth for individual large projects that put us in the same issue that larger utilities are facing now. It is a problem. We have this acceleration in renewable acquisition brought on by state legislation, you know, all three states, Washington, Oregon, California. So you have, and particularly the large utilities, PSE, locally Snohomish, Seattle City Light, to meet their obligations under the new state legislation, they're out there looking for a large amount of renewables that then taxes the transmission system in terms of having enough available capacity to move those power flows to the load centers. So what can I say? I would say, you know, we have to look both locally, and if we have large loads coming on our system, we have to look regionally or beyond to satisfy that. But for large amounts of renewables, transmission capacity is going to be one of the big constraints. And it's going to take a lot of investment dollars to solve those constraints. But then the issue is, even if you have those dollars, can you actually permit new transmission in the Northwest within the time frame needed to start meeting the state legislation requirements? And my response is probably not. It's very difficult. If you read that article that I sent, you know, Randy Hardy, who's one of the region's energy gurus, been in this business for decades, was a former Bonneville administrator. He's saying it might take 10 to 15 years to get new transmission sited. So it is a problem.
And the good news is it's Brian, it's sexy. And maybe this is not what you want to hear this late in your career, maybe too late. But John Oliver is now talking about the electric distribution and transmission system. So it's getting a lot of attention, the subject, and many people are recognizing the confluence between distributed energy production, intermittent energy production, that renewables produce and the challenges associated with that. And although certainly the current, so I've had on this line, Brian, I should also mention I had some preliminary conversations with other commissioners regarding where BPA is at, recognizing that they have made a pretty attractive offer for us for the next rate period, at least going in, but also concerns from commissioners that going into contract with BP also means a little bit of, could be a potential false sense of security because rates could go up substantially after entering a contract period. And so, although our near-term issues with power supply may be addressed, we need to continue to be vigilant on looking at additional supply options to support growth and supporting other local industry and community governments in the county, because this is going to become an increasingly complex problem. And I guess Whatcom PUD is doesn't have a tremendous amount of resourcing and staff on this subject, but I guess we know more about it than the city does. So many of our cities do. So many of our cities, I don't want to put anybody down. There's a lot of competency in our local governments, other local governments too. But I just think it's something that is going to continue to be a challenge going forward, and something that we need to increase our competency going forward.
And I would agree with that 100%, Commissioner. We face an interesting future. In particular with Bonneville, just because you sign a contract for post 2028, as you said, you're not securing rates. The rates are set in currently, at least, in a 2-year cycle. And that is up for discussion whether that cycle should be longer or shorter under the new contract, but you don't know what the rates are when you sign the contract, which is
right. Yeah, it certainly was an excellent getting the enticement by the new director of the BPA to get people to sign the long-term agreement. But there's certainly concerns about being able to maintain competitive pricing and the best pricing for our ratepayers going forward. So we have to be vigilant.
Well, I just wanted to say, Brian, thanks for drawing our attention to that article and really important issue to be tracking. And in our follow-up email chain that you and I had, Brian, I thought what you said too about keeping your resources close to load is a good idea. So, and kind of to dovetail off of what you were saying, Commissioner Deshmani, I think that there's a lot of different organizations that are facing a similar challenge right now, and figuring out, from PSE to large industrial customers to the city of Bellingham. So kind of pooling our resources potentially and looking at what some of these resources could be seems really smart. We obviously have challenges with the capacity factor of solar in Western Washington. But, I've always felt like geothermal is an underutilized potential resource. And, we of course still have the wind moratorium. I know that it's not super promising, but, I really think that having, bringing some of our partners together to have a discussion about this is really important, because man, those lead times on the transmission lines are so long and the costs are just staggering. I mean, those numbers are wild. So, and will probably just continue to go up. So figuring out how we start generating more of our electricity locally seems like something that many different groups could benefit from. So Not sure where we go with that exactly, but I think we're kind of beginning to have the right conversations with the right people, and maybe we can keep headed in that direction.
And from my perspective, one of the things I see is the price of renewable energy procurement goes up. It then makes cost effective a relook, going back and looking at energy efficiency and demand side resources as an alternative. So you
Right.
get this interesting dynamic going on there.
Okay, that's all I had to report from my side. No further commission reports. We'll now be moving on to, I believe, an executive session, or are we doing public comment before that?
I think you have
Public
public
comment.
comment before that, Commissioner.
Would it, I guess, it occurred to me that since we're going to likely make an announcement after we come out of executive session, would it be beneficial to delay public comment till after we come out of executive session?
I don't, my suggestion is not. I think that
Okay.
you already have one hand up from Rick Miracle for comments and.
Oh, good. Oh, then no, let's not delay Rick at all. Great. We'll keep as it is. And Ann, would you please assist in bringing the commenters in?
Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, I think I've got the audio on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Rick. Good morning.
A couple comments. One, a historical note, and that is since the beginning, the PUD and the port had it easy for redistricting because they simply piggybacked on the county, because they used the same districts as the county did for the commissioners and then the council. And of course, any public comment or input or whatever on it generally was all covered when the county did their redistricting. So there really has never been any comment or question. When the county went, of course, to 5 districts for the council, then the port and the PUD have been sort of on their own. So the other comment was kind of to an extension of Brian's comment about transmission and getting renewable power to the PUD and other utilities. That's one side. The other side of the equation that a lot of people don't recognize is when you go to all electric homes and all electric automobiles, the distribution infrastructure has to be substantially upgraded as well. And that is going to be, I mean, if you think you have problems citing high voltage lines, wait till you start redoing all of the infrastructure in everybody's neighborhood. It's going to be difficult and long and drawn out. So just remember that as we go forward.
Thank you, Rick. Any further comments, Ann?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're on mute.
And we'll go ahead and close this public comment period. To the benefit of the public, if you want to stick around for a few more minutes, we will be going into executive session, but we have good news when we come out, probably. Want to hand the mic to John. John, how long do you expect?
I think given the things we need to just touch base on 20 minutes max, I think, and we don't expect final action coming out, but we do anticipate the introduction of an action.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks. Then we will now head into executive session and hope to see you.
You have a separate link for that, commissioners.
We have a separate link for the, and we hope to see you at the other end of that in about 20 minutes. Thank you.
And for those not public that are here, that this public session will remain open for the next 20 minutes or so. And then we'll come back to this site when we're done with the executive session.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. We're back from executive session. I am pleased to announce that the Whatcom PUD has extended an offer, which has been accepted by a gentleman named Chris Heimgartner. Chris has gone through an extensive interview process and evaluation process by the Whatcom PUD. And we had lots of excellent candidates that we had the opportunity to meet with and talk with. And we're delighted to be able to have extended an offer which has now been accepted. There are some formalities as it relates to resolution. John, would you present the resolution?
Sure. Let me just say that we made an offer. It's conditioned on the board's final approval pursuant to statute. The process under the state statute is that the appointment resolution is to be introduced and then formally adopted at the subsequent regular meeting. So we're introducing a resolution that I'll put on the screen in a moment. And then that'll be on the commission's agenda on the 23rd for final adoption. And then I discussed that with Chris. And so here is, if I can figure out properly how to share my screen. Files. Oops, let me do this. Can everyone see that now?
No,
Not yet.
Okay, I'll try again. Sorry. Well, it's a resolution. I'll just summarize it for everyone. Try one more time, but I'm not pulling it up. It's a resolution that'll be up. Here it is.
Thank
Now
you.
do we have it?
yes,
Yes.
So it's the resolution is just summarizes the appointment and it'll be appointed as the general manager effective February 1st, 2022. That fixes the compensation as per a contract that we have signed by Chris, not executed yet by the commission. That'll be on the agenda at the next meeting. The resolution will be on the agenda and the contract for approval will be as well. And I'll be sending this resolution over to Steve and Annette and along with the contract and to Ann following this meeting. And I know Chris is watching and maybe, I'm not sure, Tool, if you want to have Chris say anything, but maybe Ann or Mike, you can make Chris a panelist in case he'd like to say something. I'm going to take the resolution now and stop my share.
Great. Yeah, I'd be open to that. But we were putting Chris on the spot. Chris, if you're interested, raise your hand. There you go. There we go. Okay, good. So I don't want to.
I think I've got it now.
Make sure I got your consent before putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I was waiting to be turned into a panelist by magic, and then I realized, no, I've just got to raise my hand. But it was an honor and a pleasure to meet everybody out there, and an incredible honor and privilege to have the contract extended and accepted and preliminarily. I really look forward to coming and working for the customers at Whatcom and for the commission.
Well, we're so excited to welcome you, Chris.
Thank
Yeah. Welcome you from the whole community. On behalf of the whole community, we're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
Chris, I'd just like to extend my appreciation for your creating the opportunity to bring you on board here. And I'm certainly looking forward to working with you and seeing what we can do to help you transition into the position. And I don't think it's going to take much time once you're here. So again, looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Okay. So that resolution has been introduced. It'll be on the agenda for final approval in 2 weeks. We have a contract I'll be sending over to Ann and Annette and Steve, signed by Chris. And then we have a draft press release. We have a few things to knit through in Mike's absence today. But once that's done, we'll have that ready to go, Steve, for you to distribute.
Great. And now, Steve, we're not done with you yet.
Be careful now.
Obviously, this is this whole process is one of mixed feelings, and tremendous appreciation and heartfelt warmth for you and all you've done for many, many, many years, even before the PUD, for the benefit of this community, and continue to do, and probably won't be able to stop you from doing, because you've always figured out ways to contribute to this community, and I can't imagine you stopping. Although maybe grandkids will benefit a little bit more in the near future.
Appreciate
And
that.
yeah, I and even down to the last few days and the last few weeks, how much this process has been facilitated by all of your work. Some things I know about, but probably many things I don't have any idea about. And wanted to express my personally, and I'm sure many, most all perhaps share that feeling of appreciation. And but we're not done with you yet, and you better be ready. You're not, if you're not crying when you hear all the good things people had to say about you, you're gonna have to bring some Kleenex.
Not worried about that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good,
All right.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Great. Well, I have nothing further to say. Commissioner Grant, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, just wanted to extend final appreciation to all the staff that helped with this selection process, John Sitkin and his team, and to Prothman, even though they're not here. So lots of people were involved, and it was a lot of work. And so just wanted to say thank you to everyone that was involved. And you too, Commissioner Deshmani.
I'd like to make sure that John, since we can't, Christian, I can't meet with him, could you do your best to try to convey a little bit of what happened here at the end here to Commissioner Murphy? And sorry that he wasn't able to be in this particular meeting.
Yeah, I absolutely will.
Great. Well,
I know he'd share all the sentiments that you expressed, Commissioner Deshmani.
if there's nothing else for the good of the order, then we will call this November 9th. Our next meeting is November 23rd. We'll call this November 9th Whatcom PUD meeting to close. Thank you all for attending, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
And we're